GT7 1.26, aka the November update, has of course dropped today in Gran Turismo 7, and as always I like to review the pack as a whole, see what's happened, see what improvements are made, what new content is there, and maybe what not so good things are included, glitches, bugs, maybe just choices that are odd. There's only one smaller curiosity to me that really stood out about this particular patch, and that is something which I'll mention briefly because it's not hugely important to many people. I just notice it because I create content on YouTube, and that is that lap times and best lap markers on the screen have for some reason seemingly been removed from replays. I don't know if maybe it's something that's just gone back to the options menu that you need to turn on again, but for whatever reason it seems to be gone. Strange choice. Not necessarily a negative, but definitely something which I did notice. Aside from that, of course, the biggest aspect of this update, and so far at least, the one which pretty much everyone seems happy about, even if they don't like the cars, is of course Road Atlanta. One of my favourite circuits. It was a leaked circuit, which of course gives more credence to the other leaks, and of course I did a video about that, data mining, discovering circuits within the code of the game, so check out that video if you haven't already, along with that much larger video about all the leaked cars as well. But for now, we have Road Atlanta finally as a part of Gran Turismo. I will of course be featuring it in updates and various other videos moving forward, and prior to this the only games that I'd driven on the track in were Forza, and I absolutely love it. For me, as I've said before, it's, along with Sebring and then Road America, probably a distant third for me, my top 3 favourite American circuits that Gran Turismo has not had so far. There is not a dual variation, which to be honest I was expecting. I thought they might give us the regular size circuit and the smaller one as well. I don't care too much that we don't have the smaller one, but having variations is always a nice option at least. At least if you are going to go for one though, go for the full size track of course, and you can change the time of day as well, even racing here at night time, which again is a pretty nice feature and one which I don't recall having in Forza, so technically that is a nice addition. Now in terms of the track, it feels like I've slipped right back into memory lane, to be honest. In some cases, when especially Gran Turismo updated tracks like Trial Mountain or Deep Forest, I found it a bit jarring from how different they felt compared to older games, especially when the older games, quote unquote, were as recent as GT6, so it's not really that old. But in this case, of course being based on a real world track helps a lot, but it really does feel like just getting straight back in the groove. Even the kind of approach that you take to a fast lap almost feels identical to Forza, which of course it should, being a real world circuit, but it is cool for those of us who are already familiar with the track. One of the things I would love to see in the comments is for those of you who have not driven on this track before, what do you think of it? Are you enjoying the circuit so far? Do you think it is going to be one that you frequent a lot? We also have some new events on the circuit, including technically a new cash cow event. It doesn't pay out quite as well as Le Mans. It's, I believe, somewhere in the like 650, 700 grand region every half an hour, and it's in Group 1 cars, up to 950 points, so an interesting alternative if you want to try it out. We also have a couple of new other events on tracks like Brands Hatch, but nothing amazing in terms of new races. There are certain tracks which still have a shortage, like Monza, where for some inexplicable reason there's only one race, but aside from that we also have, of course, the 3 new vehicles. The 3 new vehicles being the Ford Sierra RS500, legendary car, of course a vehicle which many of us have wanted in Gran Turismo for many years, perfect rival to stuff like the E30 M3, and even though it hasn't returned yet, the Mercedes 190e Evo, which of course technically predated both this and the Beamer in terms of being included in the franchise, the BMW M2 Competition, hugely popular sports car here in the UK, and it is a vehicle which I have had the pleasure of reviewing and driving in real life in the Beards and Cars series here on the channel, so I will actually be doing a game versus real episode comparing how the M2 feels in GT7 compared to how the real car felt, to see just how realistic it feels in the game, so stick around for that one in the coming days. And of course last, and well, technically probably least for many of us, but for the JDM fans not so much, a new variation of the Silvia. S14 Silvia K's 96 model year with slightly different aero, and you'll probably see some of the body modifications and some of the tuning that you can do. You can even see it in the thumbnail as well where I've modified mine. It's a Silvia, so you know what you're going to get, and with all 3 cars I of course will talk more in depth about them in their own individual reviews, which will be coming up in the coming days on the channel. For now, the Sierra is great. You can feel its age for sure. It's not some supercar eater straight out of the box, but you can definitely feel that the potential is there. It's available, surprisingly to me at least, in the used dealer. I would have thought it was a legend, but apparently not. 200 grand though, which is kind of a legendary dealer price. The Silvia is also in the used dealer for 60 grand, and then of course the Beamer, being a much newer car, is in the BMW regular dealership for just over 90,000. So it's a pretty cheap trio of cars given how good and how useful they actually are. Now, in terms of other additions to the game, of course a lot of this is revolving more specifically around the 25th anniversary celebration, if you will, especially when it comes to the esports side of the game. So there are daily questions to get prizes that you can answer, there are higher paying sport mode events, there are of course the usual bet on a driver to win kind of stuff, which we always have anyway, and some higher paying time trial based events as well. One in particular, of course, as it goes in a weekly rotation. We also have the Red Bull, that is a gift, it would seem. I'm not sure what the parameters of the gift are. I think you might just get given it no matter what, but just log in at the top of the screen and you'll see that one with a special livery. If you don't already have a Red Bull, I guess that's a pretty nice bonus to have, because you can win a Red Bull, of course, from the license events, I think it was. It might be missions, it might be licenses, I can't recall which it was now, but I think it was licenses. But maybe if you haven't done that, you could still get it this way. That could be a nice workaround for beginners. Aside from that, we of course have some new scapes, unsurprisingly, some Atlanta scapes, and some more festive scapes as well. And of course, we cannot round out the overarching review without talking about, again, in the thumbnail, one of the single most significant things about this update, probably the one thing that even if you don't like the circuit you will be happy to see: we can finally sell cars. I mean, the fact that we have to celebrate this is kind of ridiculous to me. It should have been in the game from day one, and it's really not a difficult thing to implement. The reason why I think it's taken them longer is because they've chosen to implement it in a very clearly fixed way. And that is that you don't sell them from your garage, you go into the used dealer and then go into a valuation section wherein the value of your car going up for sale actually changes, much like the used and especially legendary cars do all the time. Now, the reason why I think they're using it to manipulate the system, pretty unarguably in fact, is that when it comes to duplicates, aka the whole reason why you would want to sell them, so in other words, if you own more than two of something, you can only sell one duplicate of it per day. So you can't only sell one duplicate, period. You can only sell one duplicate of that particular car. So me, for instance, I went through my whole list, sold off a ton of duplicates, but you could only sell, for example, one of my massive collection of glitched NSXs, back from when that was a thing. And I'm sure many of you guys have a lot of NSXs to sell as well. Clearly, the only reason why they've done that to prevent that kind of thing from being done. To me, that's just petty. There is no reason to prevent people from selling off all those cars all at once. It's clearly just something that's designed to throttle the amount of quick cash that you can make, which is annoying, to be honest. So trust polyphony to even put selling cars in a way that can still annoy people. I mean, it's becoming an art form at this point to do things wrong, but we can at least sell cars in the game, so it's better than nothing. And ultimately, I would say that despite that negative aspect on selling cars and the strange aspect of removing lap times and a lap record from replays, at least from what I can see, for the most part, it's a pretty good update. I think it's a good one. It's not the biggest around, but the track is good, the cars are pretty good. The updates to career mode events are of course welcome. There's some more collector's packs in there in the cafe, but who really cares for the most part at this point. And there are of course some more opportunities for prize spins and extra cash, because of the time of year being the 25th anniversary. So if you've already had a chance to play it, let me know your thoughts down below. If you haven't yet, are you looking forward to it based on this information? And of course, if you think there are any details that I've missed or that you would like to further expand upon in the comments, absolutely put that down below. And of course, as I said, I will most certainly be covering each of the three cars. You'll see more action on Road Atlanta and more content that I already promised about the overarching state of Gran Turismo 7 is still coming out on the channel, regardless of how good or bad this update turned out to be. So that's it overall for these thoughts. Of course, stick around for those, and until next time, I'll see you there. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.